Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
We had to chase that shit. You ain't right, nigga, we caught you. Can't erase that shit. And you claiming you hold now? Why you stake that shit?
Man, I hate that.
Niggas be talking out their face, but soon as you body something.
What's up, AFTERBUZZ TV viewers? What's up, football fans out there up north in Canada and down here in America? I'm your host, Brandon London, former CFL football player, former NFL wide receiver, Super Bowl and Grey Cup champion. I'm in the house. I'm ready to talk some football. If you all are checking me out on YouTube on the live link, make sure you show love at Cultured Athlete on Twitter, at AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm a little late today, right? I mean, if you're some football off-season show faithfuls, you know I'm a little bit late. Thanks for staying around. Thanks for watching. We're gonna get right into it. We got a guy sitting here on the couch right now. Everybody, all cameras on this guy. Look at the smile. Very near and dear to my heart. My little brother, Corbin London, in studio today. His high school is on, what are you on, spring break right now?
Yeah, spring break.
So you're on spring break, so you get to come hang out with your big brother?
Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Out of your two big brothers, which one's cooler, just real quick? Me or Mike Jr.?
I don't want to play any favorites. Yeah, I'll take both of you guys.
He's a politically correct guy. He's not a Donald Trump guy. Come on. We don't have filters around this show. We're going to start off talking some CFL football. We're going to get right into it. We have the guy that we have every week calling in via Skype from Regina, Luke Mullender, CFL analyst and host, former football player. We're calling him on Skype as soon as we get him on. But a lot of big things going down or going up in the CFL right now. We have that combine that's going on, the CFL combine, where the CFL is trying to find its next Canadian star. You've got guys who've been up there a long time, made a lot of big plays. Canadian guys, Shea Emery just retired. More Canadian guys. Well, guys who used to be in the league that are retiring, and now it's opening up the door for the future of Canada. We're calling you, Luke. Luke, we're calling you. So as soon as Luke Mullender gets on, but let's go through some of the news, some of the things that are on CFL.ca. I check out a lot of the writers who are on there, see what they have to say about different news, movements, and deals that are being made in the CFL. There's a preview on the linebacker from Laval, Beauduc, last name Beauduc, guys who are earning CFL combine invites from performing well at their regional combines. You're a CFL football fan. When you came to Montreal and you checked out a game, what was the best thing you liked around being around the CFL? Teammates, the full access you had behind the scenes with me. What was your experience like while we went on? Luke, tell me a little bit of what you liked.
I like the fan base. I guess since there's that many teams in Canadian football, a lot of people have to stick to 8 teams. So I like the fan base. Big support for the players. It seemed like everyone had a jersey on, and I mean the crowds were loud. And I got to see you guys play twice, and both times it seemed sold out, and people just really seemed to love and support the Alouettes.
I forgot who we played. We played Edmonton one game because that was the game you and Dad came up. And what was the other game you came up?
I can't remember who. I think it was Calgary Stampeders, maybe.
Okay, Calgary. Calgary's made a lot of moves in the offseason. And even, what's the one guy? For those of you who don't know, that's my little brother, Corbin London. Our father is Mike London. He was the former head football coach at the University of Virginia. Now he's at the University of Maryland as a D-line coach. UVA has a Canadian player that's going into the NFL draft. They call him Corny. What's the guy's name?
His name is Trent Corney.
Trent Corney. He's from Canada, actually. And Dad actually had, how many players did he have on his roster when he was at Virginia from Canada?
In total, he had 3. So he had Trent Corney, a guy named Rob Dow, and then Brent Urban, who plays for the Ravens.
Brent Urban plays for the Ravens. What, like, in terms of those guys, you got to be around those guys and see their different work ethics and the way they translated or transitioned from Canadian high school football to the University of Virginia, which is ACC football. What do you think in terms of talent? How did they match up in talent with different guys, and what did you think of how they looked?
I think that Canadian guys have a lot to prove when they come play American football, just because it brings excitement. It doesn't matter who you are, but when there's a Canadian kid coming, you tend to get excited about him, and that's happened with Trent Corney. He can jump out of pools, he can backflip and handspring and do all that kind of stuff, but when it came to football, his fundamentals and his techniques weren't exactly on par with the regular American guys. But I mean, it just takes adjustment. At the end of the day, it's all tackling, catching, and throwing and blocking.
That makes sense. And Brent Urban, or Britt Urban, or Urban? Britt Urban, what was his season like with the Baltimore Ravens last year?
He actually tore an ACL, so he was hurt. He hasn't really had a chance to showcase his ability in the NFL. Yeah, he's played a few games, but he's still waiting to have his breakout year.
You handle Dad's Twitter. You run Dad's Twitter. Mike London, University of Maryland D-line coach, or you partake in it. There was an article with you on that. In terms of, for a Canadian kid, what's the best way, or give them some tips, some Canadian high school football players, some tips on how to reach out to American football coaches via Twitter and social media? Like, what are some steps, or what are some things that they could do?
I think the biggest thing is just do your research. Know what school it is, know who the coaches are, and the one thing you shouldn't do is don't just send your huddle tape and that's it, and expect a coach to look at it and reach out to you. You have to introduce yourself, tell them your height, your weight, and tell them your GPA, because the biggest thing is if you can qualify and if all your credits will transfer over and things like that. So that's the biggest thing. But just have like a relationship with the coach. A lot of guys just send their highlight tapes and won't respond afterwards, and some guys hound you every single day. Coach, when can I come visit? Coach, can I get some gear? Things like that. So just take just let ride the process out, and if your tape speaks for itself, then you'll get immediate contact. But if not, then just keep a relationship with the coach.
But you're saying keep a relationship with the coach, but you're also saying that guys are hounding coaches all the time. What's enough? Like, what is the package they should put together that's not just a huddle tape? Like you say, the GPA, obviously put that up. What about game footage? Because huddle tapes, that's nothing but highlight tapes. What about, like, do you put your best game on there as well? Like, I'm just trying to give the kids at home, the Canadian high school athletes that are home, a chance to know how a coach is thinking, especially with social media.
I think it depends on who the coach is. Our father, as a coach, he's very relationship oriented. So when he does direct messaging players, he wants to know how many siblings do you have, or like where are you from, where were you born, things like that. So if you can connect on a personal level with a coach, I think that would be I guess the best way to go about it, because you don't want to play for a guy that you can't talk to off the field and only on the field.
That makes sense. So I hope you kids at home, or you Canadian fans, the CFL fans who have kids in high school, kids trying to get recruited and go to college down south of the border of the Canadian border. That's a little bit of information for you. We actually couldn't get Luke on the line. I started late today. Luke has some things going on in Regina, so it's just going to be me tonight winging it. Got my little brother here. We talked a little bit of CFL football. I wanted to get into the combine. I don't have specific numbers and such because the combine just started with the CFL combine, but I promise next show we'll have a recap full with the numbers, the sleepers, the creepers, all that, the guys who really put themselves on the radar from the CFL combine. Let's kind of transition into NFL football now because it's a half and half show and we got to cut this show down short today. What is the biggest thing in terms of for the kid, for the new generation of athlete? Our uncles, football players, father, football player, we grew up coaches' kids. So we kind of know the game. We know the behind the scenes, what the GMs are thinking. I played. We know what the players are thinking. You're around players and stuff all the time. You're around football. So let's kind of get into free agency. And what are some of the big things in terms of your generation? What's some of the news and free agency that's attractive to your generation?
I think the money, to be honest, is what attracts everyone.
They're just throwing that money around.
That's all it is. You're seeing guys getting $45 million guaranteed. And, at our age, it's hard to fathom, that much money in that period of time. So I think that it's less of the person, it's more of the years and the money because there's been a lot of money going around. They offered Peyton Manning $19 million
just to come back,
and we don't even know if Peyton Manning is able to walk at night when he's at home. But yeah, like I said, the money is really what is catching everyone's attention, I think.
Is the money for your generation of football or your generation of athletes, do you think they're going to be the first generation that's really money first over championships?
I think that the way the economy is and stuff now, the cost of living is just going to continue to rise. So I think
you're going to keep wanting.
So you're going to have to keep spending. It's just like you're going to have to keep spending. You have to keep making. So I think that money will be a lot bigger as my generation of athletes get over it because these guys are setting the precedent now. Whatever contract Von Miller signs next year is setting the precedent for 10 years down the road when the next Von Miller is coming up, who's in middle school right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's the generation now that's to blame is because they're setting the bar too high.
The older players that have set the bar high, like the Tom Brady's, and let's say Peyton Manning just retired, who out of your generation of quarterbacks that y'all like, who do you think is going to step up and take over the realm or take over as the Brady versus Manning type matchup of the two elite?
The NFL, the quarterback situation in the NFL right now is tough. I know there aren't that many elite quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion.
In your opinion, how many elite quarterbacks are there?
Off the top of my head, I'll give you 6 or 7, maybe. But there's a lot of these quarterbacks are just middle pack quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, just a middle tier quarterback.
Kirk Cousins is about to get $21 million if he gets the franchise tag. We talked about that.
Kirk Cousins he is going to get paid, but I think that Kirk Cousins is just a middle tier quarterback.
Ooh, you live in Virginia too. Don't let Kirk Cousins run up on you like, you like that? Whoop up on you and be like, you like that? Then I gotta come out of retirement and put them paws on somebody.
I don't want to take the credit from him. He's in the NFL. He's a starting quarterback. People put down NFL athletes too much, say they suck and things like that. But to get there, you can't suck on the way to get there. So kudos to him for being a starting quarterback. It's just
going to the playoffs
and taking him to the playoffs. And the Redskins, great fans, but they have some fair weather fans too. So it's a tough winning environment, I think. But
calling out Redskin fans.
I'm not really calling Redskins. It's just I call it how I see it.
Boy, you still live in Virginia now. I just want you to know that you have to fly back to this. Kirk Cousins and Redskin fans, you have to fly back to this. You all right? You want to do some push-ups just to make sure your chest is swole when you get back? I'm just keeping it straight. I don't want to be beating around the bush. So since we're on quarterbacks, one of the biggest free agency deals that's, maybe not money, but just overall in terms of, wow, that's a shock. Brock Osweiler heading to the Houston Texans. And here's what I say about this. Here's my opinion on this, so you know. So, okay, it's a young guy going to the Houston Texans. He took over, went 5-2 with the Broncos. He ultimately got his job taken back from him for Peyton Manning. But at the same time, you can see why there would be politics involved with that, where it's like, if you show any type of weakness. We're going to give Peyton his job back just because it's Peyton Manning. We can't bench a GOAT like that. We can't go out like that. We'll take backlash. So he signs this huge deal. Let me click on that. He signs this huge deal with the Houston Texans. For you, as your generation, is he your generation's? Could he be one of your generation's elite quarterbacks, Brock Osweiler?
Brock Osweiler as my generation's elite quarterback, I'm not sure if he has what we're looking for. I think when we want an elite quarterback, we want someone who's exciting. I think my generation was behind Johnny Manziel.
5-2 is exciting. Johnny Manziel is not 5-2.
When it comes to style of play, more so, we want to see a Johnny Manziel kind of guy. He's a different story, but like a guy like that who can make exciting plays. Who, when you turn on SportsCenter, you see him, making this crazy pass or juking out the DN for the things like that. So I think we're looking forward to Brock Osweiler is a good quarterback. He can really throw it around. And he's big too. So I think that his success in Houston, if they get better pieces around him, I think they'll be all right.
He has a guarantee of $37 million over the next 2 years. $37 million he's going to get. Kirk Cousins, if he takes the franchise tag, gets $20.9 million, which is we're going to round up to the nearest decimal. $21 million. Kirk Cousins or Brock Osweiler?
Brock Osweiler.
Who do you take?
Brock Osweiler. I take Brock Osweiler because who was Kirk Cousins? Who was in his stable at quarterback? Robert Griffin III. He isn't equivalent to Peyton Manning. When Brock Osweiler was in the field, he had Peyton Manning in his ear and on the sideline, telling him what he saw. And when Peyton was on the field, Brock Osweiler could see exactly what he was doing. So, just like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, you put two guys like that together, then they're destined to succeed.
But that's one thing, just sitting back and watching. The next thing is going out and doing. So you're saying in terms of mental reps, they had a chance to step up and develop and develop mental reps. But Kirk Cousins had Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan. He's had Jay Gruden as a QB coach, offensive coordinator, or was Jay Gruden the head coach now? Jay Gruden's the head coach now. He's the head coach. It goes in and out, man. It goes in and out. So he may not have had that player to look up to or learn from, but he had coaches to learn from.
So as a player, when it comes to relationships, it's good to have a relationship with a coach, but when it's another player, it's a different thing. And you can speak on that, being friends with guys like Plaxico Burress and Steve Smith. Like, as tight as you can be with your coach, you have someone who's actually doing what it is you want to do, and you guys are running together, you're lifting together, you're watching film together to get better. So I think that it's just a separate brotherhood when it's player to player.
Damn, boy, you can tell you've been around the game. Hey, Mike London Sr., you've raised some football addicts. Sheesh. That boy, you broke the game down. I hope you get that internship with Rock Nation Sports, or I hope you get that. You deserve that, man. You deserve that. So, what other things for your generation? We're gonna talk your generation today in terms of free agency. What your generation sees. What other things or signings in free agency would you say is attractive to your generation?
When it comes to my generation, I think there's been a lot of big splashes in my in free agency this year, but nothing that's about young players. There's older guys who are getting these big deals, but we want to see the young guys' new contract. We want to see
Mohamed Sanu signed a 5-year deal with the Falcons.
Mohamed Sanu has been in the NFL since
He's still relatively young.
Mohamed, in the younger generation, Mohamed Sanu is a guy of the past. We don't guys.
What?
He's a guy of the past.
Man, how old is this dude, man? All right, you got to get out Roddy White so I can see why. He's 26. 26 years old, still young in the NFL.
You know what's young in the NFL? Odell Beckham Jr. is young in the NFL.
That's super young.
Odell Beckham Jr. took over what it means to be a receiver in the NFL. When you think of wide receivers in the NFL, you think of Odell Beckham Jr. And that's what my generation is tailored to.
Sanu was a 3, so now he has a chance to put himself up there in that category. I mean, Julio Jones is going to be all right, so who's better, Julio Jones or Odell Beckham Jr.?
When it comes to consistency,
who is a better receiver? Who's Madden rating? If you worked for Madden and you had to make the rating, what rating are you giving Julio Jones? What rating are you giving Odell Beckham Jr.?
are they the best 2 receivers in the game? What's my scale?
For you, what's for the scales that's out there? Like for you, rate them so I know who you think is better.
I think Odell Beckham Jr.
is better than Julio Jones.
Who have better hands? The hands category.
I say overall rating. I'm not saying speed, catchability, elusiveness, trucking, tackling, ball carrier vision, spectacular catch. I say overall rating.
I think Odell Beckham Jr. simply because he has the flash, he has the excitement. It's harder to appreciate Julio Jones, who gets to the sticks on 3rd and 7 and who catches the first down pass and things like that. It's hard to relate to him. It's hard to notice what he's doing because he's not on SportsCenter. He's not in top 10.
What are you talking about? It's hard to notice what he's doing when he's leading. He led the NFL in receiving yards this past year. It was either him or Antonio Brown. One of the top 3 or top 2 leading receivers in the game. What just because he's not on TV, just because Odell Beckham plays him in New York, which the media is all over everything you do, just because he doesn't dance and he's not on Instagram doing all types of dances and stuff, meaning Julio Jones is not doing that. Have you seen the plays Julio Jones makes? Do you see what he does to the game's top corners? He doesn't lose his head. He doesn't headbutt. He doesn't go after Josh Norman. He doesn't do any of that. He beats people out there like it's nothing. Odell Beckham Jr. be balling too, but what I'm saying is your generation is so caught up in flash. Oh, he's his Instagram, this, he's doing this, he's dancing. Look at that dance. And y'all wear the same length of jeans. Both of y'all jeans skinny. I get it, but Julio Jones puts up numbers. You know what I mean?
Controversy sells.
Controversy sells. I get it. That's your generation.
That's everyone's generation. It doesn't matter what generation it is. Controversy sells.
Right.
When you have Odell Beckham Jr. who's taking shots at Josh Norman, when you have Odell Beckham Jr. who does the whip and does all that stuff like that, that is what people are attracted to.
Julio Jones beats Josh Norman. Like, goes after him in games. Like, not getting 15-yard penalties. Scoring, catching balls, like being productive. Odell Beckham Jr. wasn't that productive against Josh Norman. He didn't know how to handle that dog. So that's why that incident went down like that, because your generation, and nothing against Odell Beckham Jr. Dude, I'm a big fan. You ball. I follow you on Instagram. You be balling. And that's what we think of your generation today. It's where y'all can do all that dancing and flashing and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop and the talking. But then when you go up against a dog, that dog takes you to a place where you're not, y'all the skinny jeans and the big Reeboks and stuff, they don't go there. It doesn't go together with that dog. And Josh Norman had that, and that Panthers defense had that dog to where Odell Beckham Jr. had to talk himself and take himself mentally to another place. He dropped a touchdown early in the game. You can see where his mind was from the bats and the people stepping up in his face. He got extra hype and couldn't do what Odell Beckham Jr. does. Now, he settled down later on in the game after he figured out, okay, I got to make plays. It's not about this matchup with Josh Norman. I got to go out there and make plays for my teammates. He settled down. But that's what your generation looks like to us.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay, you've been waiting. Go ahead, ask me a question, bro.
As a receiver who played in the NFL, played in the CFL, tell me which one of those guys do you want to be? Julio Jones or Odell Beckham Jr.?
I want to be Brandon London, but for the sake of this argument,
Julio Jones, like you said,
he played in the NFL and played in the CFL. Am I talking marketability and
you're talking the whole package?
The whole package.
You as an athlete, how you were when you played football,
Odell
your
Beckham
swagger,
Jr. Odell Beckham
Jr. Exactly. That's what sells. No one wants to be. He's great, but no one wants to be Julio Jones if they can be Odell Beckham Jr. That's the argument I'm trying to make.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, we kind of got off track because we were talking about Sanu signing with the Falcons, and you're saying like no young guys are getting any good deals. He got a good deal. Doug Martin just signed a 5-year deal with the Bucs to go back. Brock Osweiler is still kind of young. Sean Smith, he's up there. He signed 4-year, $40 million contract with the Raiders. That's a lot of money. He won in that situation, Sean Smith.
Yeah.
You think he's a $10 million a year corner?
Absolutely.
Do you know who Sean Smith is?
I do.
All right. $10 million a year?
That's up there.
That's up there.
That is up there. But my thing is, I don't care how they play before they sign their big contract. I want to see how they play after their big contract. Because after that big contract is when they have to start proving themselves. And if they can't compete during that contract, then their NFL season, they're walking out the door.
So for you, Sean Smith has to have how many interceptions per year out of these next 4?
I don't think it's necessarily interceptions per year. I think it's just his overall performance and contribution to the team, whether it be locking down the best receiver and helping, be the third best pass, whatever it may be. I think that it doesn't come down to just interceptions and forced fumbles and stuff like that. I think it's his overall style of play and how he complements the rest of the defense.
Do you think they got him because he has to go up against Demaryius Thomas? What is that? The AFC West? What is it? Demaryius, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Chargers.
Yeah.
He has to go. Well, Malcolm Floyd just got released from the Chargers, but he has to go against those bigger receivers. He can eat in that system, in that conference.
I think that's a strategic move to get him there. I think that definitely his style of play will be better matched up with the receivers in that league.
Is it? Because a lot of older players go out to Oakland and they're not as good as what we thought they were going to be or what they signed for. Justin Tuck, he did really well out there, but Justin Tuck, his numbers weren't anything great when he got to Oakland. Like the Alden Smith, he had a decent season last year.
I think that's a question to ask you. I mean, you're an NFL guy. You know how the business works. Like, what happens when players go to teams like the Oakland Raiders or say the St. Louis Rams and their career fizzles out? Can you always blame it on the personnel and the system, or is it the player? Does he get lost in the lifestyle?
Sometimes your system makes you, or not even makes you, helps you play above the X's and O's. Because that system, whether it's offense or defense, it's like it comes to you. You know the intricacies of every system, of every play call that O coordinator, that D coordinator calls. Okay, we have this spread right, what we used to call with the Giants, it was called cafe. It was a three-man combination, a three-man route combination. Number 1 to the outside runs a curl. Number 2 runs a corner, and number 3, slot, tight end, fullback, whatever that third receiver would be, would run a flat. So it's cafe. Curl, corner, flat, cafe. For a certain athlete to know the system and know, we kind of ran this system in college, or we've done this, I know this, or I know that flat route is there to pull that defender out, so I'm wide open on the curl, make sure I step back into the ball and do all that. Some athletes, they connect to the system and they just get freaky with the system. You like, man, this guy's he's balling out here. He knows where to go. He knows where to be. He's using his natural athleticism. That's when guys take advantage of a system and they just get freaky with it. But then there's times where Ocho Cinco in New England, that system doesn't match my swag. It doesn't match my football swag like that. It goes up against each other, and it's more than just a lifestyle. Sometimes if it doesn't mix, if you and the system, your athleticism and the system don't mix, then you're going to get exposed because there's way too many athletes in this league.
So can you give me a receiver who plays above the system, in that if you took him off his team
Antonio Brown.
now, so you're telling me that Antonio Brown on any other team would not put the numbers that he does?
Antonio Brown. As long as you get him the ball, I don't care what system he's in, he's going to get freaky. He'll take a jailbreak screen, house. He'll run a 9 route on you, house. He'll run a curl, get the separation off the line, curl, come back to the ball, use the technique to come back to the ball, catch the ball coming back to the quarterback, eyes on the ball, EOB, eyes on ball, arms all the way out, catch it, put his foot in the ground, and then his X's and O's, who his mama is and who his daddy is, that comes together, and then he gets so freaky when he has the ball in his hands and gets that yak. Antonio Brown will go into any system and run that system. So, you look at I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but Bruce Arians was the old coordinator with the Pittsburgh Steelers when Antonio Brown first came into the league. I know because I was with the Steelers with his rookie camp, and I was like, oh boy, I'm about to get cut. This 5th rounder is out here balling. He's balling. But anyways, Bruce Arians, and then Todd Haley comes in. Mike Wallace with Bruce Arians, Mike Wallace with Todd Haley, Mike Wallace with Miami Dolphins. Oh, well, Mike Wallace, he's better now. So you look at that. Antonio Brown has gone through, 2 or 3 offensive coordinators, and he's still putting up top 2, top 1, top 3 receiving statistical stats in each category. He makes the system. He makes the X's and O's, So, yeah, Antonio Brown.
So give me a player who doesn't make a system. Someone who balls like Antonio Brown, but if you strip him of his team, he won't be anything. He won't be able to make plays. He won't be in the position to make those plays.
Well, I want to see Sanu, who just left Cincinnati to go to Atlanta. Well, you know what? No, because he's not the number 1. Julio Jones is still the number 1.
And they had Devontae Freeman, too.
I'm going to go with Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones. Now you're the number 1 with the Detroit Lions. You have a quarterback, somewhat. You have a quarterback where you know you're going to get the ball. So now it's like what he looks like in that system is what he really is, or what really was. We're going to see if it was AJ Green and him being the number 2 is what got him paid, or no, I really am a number 1. I can take your system to the promised land.
Look whose shoes he's filling, though. He's coming in to fill Calvin Johnson, Megatron, 6'6", 4'3", 4'4", 40. He has big shoes to fill because Megatron also was a fan favorite, and you saw the career that he had, and he retired early. He had a great career, so I feel like that'll be a struggle for him too, as the expectations that are set for Sanu may be too high for him to overcome, regardless of how good a season he has.
There are no expectations at all, because you're looking at Calvin Johnson, who is the greatest Detroit Lions wide receiver of all time. Never won a playoff game there. So let's say Calvin Johnson's best year, he had 15? He almost had 2,000 yards receiving, right?
Right.
So let's say it was around 1,800. It was 1,900 yards receiving that year. Let's say, but they didn't go to the play. They didn't win the playoff game. So Jones, all you have to do is come in, get 1,150, maybe 1,200 yards receiving, and y'all go to the playoffs, and that's bigger than the 19,000.
You think?
That's bigger than the 19,000 in terms of winning over the haters who are like, oh, Calvin Johnson, I'm not going to like Marvin Jones because I'm so stuck on Calvin Johnson and his individual success. His individual success, it just didn't pan out for the team as a whole.
I mean, it's easy to say 1,200 yards receiving, 1,500 yards receiving right now.
Marvin Jones can get 1,200 yards receiving. He has a quarterback that's going to get you. I'm going to get you the ball. You're here to replace Calvin. So if you put up any type of plays that Calvin has made, you come down with that jump ball and double coverage that I just threw up there. I'm going to keep finding ways to get you the ball on a hitch here, a curl here, come back to you on a backside 6, because you're the guy. We brought you in to replace the guy. So he has his opportunity to get 1,200 easy. All you have to do is just catch it, make those tight plays, and get freaky when you get the ball. But if they go to a playoff, if they go to a playoff, oh, you laughing? Yeah. Then that's bigger than that extra 600, 700 yards that Calvin Johnson would have had, because now you're talking playoffs. And win a playoff, oh yeah, then we're not thinking about Calvin Johnson anymore like that. Yeah, individually, what you did for the Lions, and you redefine, you're a specimen, you came up here. the mob is fickle, like they say in the movie Gladiator. Dad's favorite movie, Gladiator. The mob is fickle. They'll forget all about that, boy. You away from the game and we're going to playoff games now? As a Lions fan, that's really all you want. You don't want the next big talent to come through here. I don't care if I'm a Detroit Lions fan, my boy Matt Wood in Charlottesville, Virginia, he deserves a playoff win. He's a huge Lions fan. You know that. When we go hang out at his house, he's got Lions memorabilia all over the little patio room. That's all he wants. So we appreciate what you've done, Calvin Johnson. Statistically, we want a playoff win, man. We want a playoff win. So let's get into, I want to know what your generation thinks about Ryan Fitzpatrick and his New York Jets dilemma he has going on. He took over for Geno Smith, your generation's quarterback. Y'all take Geno Smith. Came in. He didn't make the playoffs. That's the thing. And in the game where they had to win against the Buffalo Bills to go into the playoffs, he didn't play too hot. If you, knowing what you know about football and thinking as your generation type GM, would you pay, as the New York Giants, would you pay Ryan Fitzpatrick to come back and be your starting quarterback? Or do you try and get Kaepernick, RG3, whomever's out there?
I think the current free agent quarterback stable is thin right now. If your choices are RG3, Kaepernick, and Fitzpatrick, those aren't the best choices out there on the market. But Fitzpatrick was in a high-pressure situation. You can't expect to put a quarterback in a situation like that. And if he comes out on top,
a high-pressure situation. What is your generation calling a high-pressure situation?
To get your team to the playoffs.
Coming in with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker on the outsides, Chris Ivory is my running back, and a defensive-minded coach, somewhat of a defense. He's in a great situation if you ask me.
But he's still the quarterback, though. He's still the guy that everyone's going to look to. It's his team. Or if the guy misses a tackle, it's going to come down to Ryan Fitzpatrick and his team.
Okay, so you want that money, right? You want the money they're giving quarterbacks. If you're a franchise tag quarterback, you average the top 5 contracts, and that's what you get for that 1 year, which is $21.9 million a year. You didn't hear me? $20.9 million a year. Round up to 21. You want that type of money, and you're talking about a high pressure situation. I have to get you guys to the playoffs. For $21 million, you better get me to the Super Bowl, boy. That's what's wrong with your generation, man. You want $21 million, but you don't want the pressure of getting a team to the playoffs. So what's up with Geno? What are they going to do with Geno? If you're the GM, you're Todd Bowles, the head coach, what do you do with Geno? He's your first-round pick.
Geno Smith, his career hasn't panned out the way that everyone hoped it to. Out of West Virginia, everyone thought he was going to be the big, next big thing. But like I said, he couldn't put it together, whether it be the system or his skill in general. But the biggest thing about Geno Smith is not about what he can do on the field. It's about if he can pay his debts back, his money back when it comes in the locker room.
And that's whatever. That happened. It's over. You're always going to get a laugh at it, no matter what team he goes to. He's going to be in the locker room. He's going to meet friends, or he's going to have his clique of friends in the locker room that he hangs out with most. Those are the guys that he'll probably feel comfortable when they crack a joke about it, just because it's like, we're having a laugh. It's just for spits and giggles, that sort of thing. But then is when the other guys on the team that you don't really get along with, when they say something like that, it means more. I get it. But where's he going to go? Does he stay? Does he stay there? Do you let him compete for the starting job now if Fitzpatrick leaves? Do you bring in a rookie quarterback? Do you go through that all over again? Or like you said, since the stable is kind of thin, do you just try and make a deal with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I say definitely do with Ryan Fitzpatrick first and foremost. He did have momentum with that team. He's gained the respect of his team. And like you said, he has Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall, so he didn't have to do much. But just building that chemistry is very important for two guys like that because they have two different play styles. And when it comes to a guy like Brandon Marshall, you have to play to his play style because he's going to go up and get the ball. So I think that if you cannot ride with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think you stick with Geno just because he's had chances before, but he has weapons and he has tools in place for him.
I can't. I have to. It's just there's not enough quarterbacks in the NFL right now. It sucks being a wide receiver. It sucks because either you play for a really sorry team to where we just drafted the next stud quarterback, i.e. Titans, Bucks, Colts has a stud quarterback, but they're not that good last season they weren't that good of a team. Or you're on a team with a good defense with a trashy quarterback, or you get to play with one of the elites or somewhat elite. It's just it's whack, man. It's whack. But they throwing all that money around. Throwing so much money around. So another one that's your generation type quarterback, Colin Kaepernick. That's still your generation with the Kista and the Bose, not the Dre's Beats headphones. That's your generation. What's going to happen with him?
That's a big question mark, I think, this offseason is dealing Colin Kaepernick. I mean, he had the one great year with the 49ers. He has athleticism. He has the arm. But he may just be a guy that couldn't fit in the system. He might have had a bad relationship with his offensive coordinator or his head coach, whatever it may be. But Colin Kaepernick's a guy that will get his second wind and can take that and, establish his relevance. Because like I said, the bar for quarterbacks in the NFL is getting lowered. So I think that if Colin Kaepernick finds a good fit, finds a great scheme, I think that he can continue to rise back to where he was at the beginning of his career.
At the beginning of his career, no one really knew anything about him. So he was kind of like a mystery. He came onto the scene. Maybe did all that hype, did it phase out? I mean, you can say you could get some more players around him. He had Torrey Smith last year. He had a decent year before what Torrey Smith can put up. He could have put up a better year. Anquan Bolden, he's up there in age. You trade Vernon Davis out of there. Your head coach leaves. So would you say you're a golf guy, he gets a mulligan on this past season? And don't you think, because this is a your generation type coach, don't you think Chip Kelly and his offense would be a good fit for a guy with the intangibles like Colin Kaepernick?
For the first part of your question, I think that, like I said, Colin Kaepernick is about to get a second wind.
Where though?
Whether it be with the same to wherever it is, I think that I'm a firm believer that he is about to take back off. He had a short hiatus, but I think that, like I said, Colin Kaepernick is in a great position to rise back to power. And what was your second question?
Second question was, would it fit if he stayed with Chip Kelly in that type of offense?
Absolutely. I mean, when you have a guy like Marcus Mariota, like if you look at the intangibles, like Marcus Mariota and Colin Kaepernick, athletically wise, they're pretty much the same build-up. Pretty much, they both have speed. They both have vision. When it comes
Marcus
to running.
Mariota can throw more accurate than Colin Kaepernick. So no, they're not the same.
When it comes down to Chip Kelly, though, I think Chip Kelly in that kind of system he can adjust. It's not you can't coach. There's not only one style of player you can coach. You have to adjust. It happens with every team, every quarterback. So I think that if you can adjust your coaching style and Colin Kaepernick adjust his playing style, I think that the two together can kind of bring back the flash that we saw at Oregon.
How are you going to bring back the flash if you don't bring me any weapons? Where's my receiver that plays above the X's and O's?
That's another.
I might have a bad game one day. I need him to take over. This is a bad ball. Oh, wait. Oh, my gosh. Did he catch that? That type of guy. Every quarterback needs that. Peyton Manning had one. Tom Brady had one. Every quarterback, regardless who you are. Ryan Fitzpatrick had one last year. Brandon Marshall. Eric Decker, he can do it. Well, Brandon Marshall goes and gets those things. Yeah,
Brandon
B. Marshall. Yeah. Oh, embarrassing. But that's what I'm saying. So I think it's maybe it could work, but he needs the weapons. He needs the weapons. Last but not least, your thoughts. Give me a Super Bowl. Give me your Super Bowl, a Brave Super Bowl pick right now.
For next year.
Give me your top 3 Super Bowl picks, and like just a brief little synopsis why, and we're gonna wrap this thing up.
I had the Cardinals up there pretty high. I'm a big fan of the Arizona Cardinals. They played great in the playoffs this year. They were missing Tyrann Mathieu, which killed them. He's one player, but that's one player that that can make up a big difference. And their secondary is fantastic, one of the best in the NFL. The big question mark for them is at the receiver position. Can Larry Fitz pull off another great year? And to be honest, I'm not sure. He's been playing since I've been playing Madden 2007, so he's been in the league for a while. So a big question mark for the Cardinals is what they can do at the receiver position. Number 2, I'm a big Patriots fan, not in terms of just because I grew up watching them, but I just love how they play their offense. They don't need to run the ball. They just dump it and dink it, and then they'll go over top of your head. So I think the Patriots will get back there again, hopefully. And I guess my last team, I should go a bold prediction here.
Bold prediction. Spice it up. Give me something hot but not spicy.
Something hot but not spicy. I could go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's not too bad.
That's
Pittsburgh
not.
Steelers.
Go bold. You have to go bolder than that.
Go bolder than that.
A team that didn't go to the playoffs this past year. Because there's always that one team.
Man.
Do 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 do. I don't think he's old enough to even know what this music comes from. Here we go. Once it ends, you got to give Alex. Here it goes. Oh, you get a little bit of extended time. It's gonna come up. Deep thing. We want to see
St. Louis Rams.
You're not gonna wait for the music.
Nah, I'm not waiting for music.
Don't. All right. It ends. Dun. All right.
St. Louis Rams.
St. Louis Rams and why?
St. Louis Rams are dealing out.
No. There's no such thing as the St. Louis Rams, boy. You in LA. It's the LA Rams.
LA Rams. They're dealing out older guys on their defense. They're clearing up cap space. They just got rid of Chris Long, Charlottesville native. It was tough to see him go, but they got rid of James Laurinaitis. They're getting rid of guys who have a lot of money on their team. When it comes to the offense, their running back, Trey Mason, I think that
Todd Gurley,
they have a good running back stable. So I think that
quarterback, you need a quarterback to win the Super Bowl. You need a quarterback or a strong defense.
They just lost Roddy McLeod, so that freed up some money.
Money is what? Okay, they have money, but what? You see what's going on. I haven't seen them sign anybody in free agency.
The free agency just began. I think
all right, but you got all that money. You should be able to lock somebody down day one if you have a lot of money. You could go get somebody, hey, come over here instead, and you'll get 5-6 extra meal. We're not talking M&M's meal.
I think this whole LA thing is going to bring a lot of
Super Bowl?
Not a Super Bowl, just the overall excitement.
Right.
St. Louis Rams.
All right, we'll take the
LA Rams.
LA Rams. The boy knows his football. I want to thank my little brother for coming on and hanging out with his older brother while we talk football. This was AFTERBUZZ TV, football off-season show with your favorite host, Brandon London. Find me on Twitter @CulturedAthlete and hit up AFTERBUZZ TV as well. Man, we had to really make lemonade out of lemons. We started late, but we finished just great. Don't hate, and whatever rhymes with 8. Thanks for watching.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AFTERBUZZ TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.